What is going on, guys? Avery here, bringing you guys a video today to fill in for Capital G. But real quick, before I get into this video, I just want to give a huge thank you to Capital G. Bro, thank you so much for letting me upload to your channel. I truly do appreciate it. And if you guys wouldn't mind doing me a huge favor and checking out my channel, youtube.com/Averylr32, pronounced Averylr32. I cannot tell you how many times people have mispronounced my YouTube name, but that's okay. So, if you guys enjoy having daily uploads, almost 1 to 2 videos a day, sometimes 3, and a live stream here and there, along with gaming content such as Zelda Breath of the Wild gameplay, a Nintendo Switch unboxing, all that good stuff, you're going to want to check out my channel. But without any further ado, today's video is going to be a top 10 series in which I'm going to be talking about the top 10 decks that I believe are going to be good going into the Vrains era or Link Summoning format, whichever you prefer to call it. Now, there are a few things I want to get out of the way before I dive into the nitty-gritty of this video, and that is that right now, at this moment in time, we do not yet have a ban list, so things could drastically change or not drastically change depending on what Konami decides to do on the ban list. So with all that being said, I also want to throw in that these top 10 decks, you know, maybe I could be leaving some out. I could be leaving some out from, you know, an honorable mention that I should have thrown in or something like that. So if I did miss anything, please feel free to leave that in the comments below. And without any further ado, let's dive in. So at my number 10, I have Statue Stun, and also just stun variants in general. Stun has always been a good meta choice throughout the years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Whether it's been a slower format than what we have now or a faster format. Stun has always kind of been there to be like, nah fam, you ain't gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I believe that with the Link summoning mechanic coming out in the next 6 months or so, that the game is definitely going to slow down. I think the majority of people in this game will agree to that, and so I could definitely see Statue Stun and just stun variants in general definitely going to be on the rise at the beginning of the format, because people won't really know what to play and they won't really what to invest in either. So stun is a very good pick for something like this. And at number 9, I've got everybody's favorite deck, Chainburn. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta have Chainburn on this list, because Chainburn is just one of those decks where you set 5, play with your Diddly, summon a card D, tribute draw 2, and your opponent really can't do anything. It has an amazing Zodiac matchup. I've tested this matchup extensively, and really, I mean, unless you're sitting with triple Whiptail in your hand that you chain to like the last card I chain in my chain link so that you don't take as much damage from a Secret Barrel, I mean, that's cute and all, but I mean, you're still going to be taking burn damage. So this is definitely a good pick for budget players as well. Same thing with the stun variants. Just because you're not having to invest a lot of money into a deck, you can pay maybe $30 for Chainburn, and you have a decent rogue deck. That pretty much you don't have to know what your opponent's cards do unless it's something like Denko Sekka or something that stops burn damage. So if you want to play something that's cheap and going to probably be decently effective against this Link summoning mechanic, since the game will be slower, then definitely pick up Chainburn, because as long as Denko Sekka, Royal Decree aren't around and you can handle Twin Twisters at the end phase, you'll pretty much be fine. Moving on from that, at my number 8, we have Sylvan. Now, this is definitely a pick that I didn't really think about at first when I was constructing this top 10 list, but as I got to thinking about it, I was like, you know, Sylvans are a very control-based deck. They definitely take a lot of skill, because you need to know what to excavate off the top of your deck. You need to, you know, kind of know how to rearrange the cards on top of your deck so that you know what you're excavating, and it's very combo oriented in that same sense. I've never been able to play it properly just because it was so confusing with all the effects. I was like, forget it, I'm not even going to try and learn. But with the game most likely going to be slower, I think that we could see a possible resurgence in Sylvans. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think it's something that should at least be brought up. At number 7, I've got Yang Zing, and as you can see, I just threw in 9 pillars here because it's just so busted. Yang Zing do well in a slower paced format. The slower the format is, the better Yang Zing can do. The fact that pretty much all of their monsters are floaters, and the fact that they have access to a card like Denglong and 9 pillars, makes them a very formidable deck that I think that we are definitely going to see a major resurgence in once Link summoning hits. On top of that too, you got to keep in mind that all the decks that I've mentioned so far either don't have an extra deck or they don't rely heavily on their extra deck. Yes, Yang Zing need to be able to make their synchros, but you know, let's say you pull off something like a Baxia, Chwen, and like you make a big synchro summon into, you know, one of your big guys, like let's say for example Yazi or Baxia, you can pretty much sit on that because those synchros pretty much become indestructible whenever they're combined with the right Yang Zings that you can just be able to place in your extra monster zone, and then you can just fill up with back row. So definitely something to keep in mind, and you know, like I said, the slower the format, the better this deck is. At number 6, I have Telly Knights. This deck is also a very control-based deck, as most of the other decks have been so far. And, you know, when we first saw them come out, they were definitely a very strong deck, and then they kind of fell off the map a little bit once, you know, other ban lists came out and we saw other top decks rise to power. And I think with the slower format in the form of link summoning, I think that we're definitely going to see Telly Knights kind of come on the rise as well, just because of the fact that, you know, they can be able to make the giant True Nade card and just bounce everything back. They don't really have to fear back row because they have Satellar Nova Alpha. Just a very good control-based deck. I refer to them pretty much as like the new age gadgets, just because, you know, Deneb is basically a gadget, searches you any Telly Knight that you want. So definitely something to keep in mind going into this new link summoning format. And, you know, kind of the same thing with Yang Zing. The slower the format, the better the deck is. At number 5, I have Monarchs, and I also have, well, listed here on my notes, all variants, because of the fact that, you know, there isn't just one Monarch variant. You know, you don't have to play, you know, 3 structure decks with, you know, all the pantheisms and everything else that hasn't really been hit from Monarchs. You know, you can combine it with other engines. I remember years ago when I was playing Monarchs, if you kind of wanted to be decently competitive with them, you would play Jester Comfit. I'm not saying that Jester Comfit's going to be played again, but maybe we could see something like Soul Exchange, because, you know, you can just go Stormforth or Soul Exchange a Link monster, summon out a Monarch, and then, you know, your opponent just lost their entire Link monster that they just spent hard-earned resources to make. So, and especially on top of that too, with Thestalos, being able to get cards out of your opponent's hand, the Mega Monarch and the regular Thestalos version, just a very good control-based deck. Erebus being able to shuffle cards back into the deck, Prime Monarch being a great card. Just this deck has a lot going for it. On top of that too, you also have to keep in mind that the Monarchs, what is it? Not Stormforth, whatever their continuous spell is, you know the one I'm talking about. That card that makes them basically into a Magispector, yeah, that card's going to be absolutely busted, especially if they end up hitting board wipes on this next ban list, because you really won't have much to worry about. So if Monarchs can be able to get set up, they are definitely going to be busted. And then here at my number 4, we've got Mermail. Mermail is an OTK-based deck. They can OTK you by turn 2 if they have the right hand set up. They really don't have to make anything from their extra deck often. If they want to, I mean, sure, they can make Abyss Gaios, but even whenever they OTK you, they don't ever go into the extra deck. So if you want something that's, I wouldn't say insanely cheap, but as long as you're not trying to max rarity it out, definitely a good OTK-based deck that will probably be able to keep up with the majority of the meta. And then moving on from that, we have at my number 3, we have Lightsworn. I also have Jane Twilightsworn General here, just because this is part of the new Lightsworn support, along with Punishment Dragon that we'll be seeing, I believe, in Maximum Crisis. Don't quote me on that. But with this new support, plus there are the 60 card variants, such as with Lawn Mowing Next Door, there are Lightsworn Infernoid versions. Lightsworn will definitely be a much better deck than what it is right now once we hit link summoning. Just the fact that you're able to play a card like Judgment Dragon and just blow away their entire board, blow away their link monster, use Lila to pop their pendulum scales, and then, you know, they weren't able to set as much back row before, and so you don't have to worry about back row as much. You can just twin twister it away pretty much, and then, you know, drop JD, and as long as their pendulum scales aren't going to stop you, or you know, Ghost Ogre or Effect Veiler, you really won't have much to worry about. And then at my number 2, coming to a close here, we've got Infernoid. Of course, you got to have Lawn Mowing in here for Infernoid. Infernoid hardly ever uses their extra deck. If they do, they go into Terraria. This deck is just, it's a beat stick deck. I mean, it really is. Just the fact that you have access to cards like Devati and Anuchu, and if you run Void Imagination, then you've got Terraria. This deck, I don't really see it being hurt by the link summoning mechanic at all. You know, as long as they're still able to banish cards out of their graveyard, and as long as Fairy Tale Snow is still a card, I mean, I see this deck being extremely competitive in the upcoming link summoning format. And finally, at my number 1, I have Zodiac. Now, for those of you who are going to be like, well, Avery, they're not going to be able to make their first turn Emerald and Giant in play anymore. Yes, normally they won't be able to, but keep in mind that the one link summoning monster that's called like Milus Radiant. Basically, it allows you to where if you open up Terratop and a rat in your hand, you're still able to do the combo because of the Milus Radiant Link monster. So it's pretty much self-explanatory. As long as Zoo doesn't get killed on this next ban list, which I don't think they do because they're going to probably do something more like a profit ban list where, you know, they just hit a few things and maybe hit a couple cards in Zoo and be like, we tried to hit it, guys. But overall, I think Zoo is still going to be a great deck going into this Link summoning format. We could have a second ban list before then, but I doubt that we're going to. I think that we'll have a ban list probably like late March, early April. So, but, you know, that's a video for a different day. But in all of this being said, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to give it a huge thumbs up. Thank you again, Capital G, for letting me post on your channel. And once again, if you guys wouldn't mind checking out my channel, I've been doing Yu-Gi Tubing for quite a while now. I've been doing it kind of off and on, but now I'm really starting to grasp hold of what I need to do to build my channel, and so I would greatly appreciate if you guys would hop on over and give me a subscription. So anyways, thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.